Now, I don't think I do stuff like this when I'm really happy, but then again, I've never really been billionaire happy.
We wouldn't be able to do this without you, Mr. President, and I'm thrilled that we get to.
All right, 500 billion for AGI, mostly in America, I guess. 100 billion here, half trillion there. Somebody knows something about this AI thing. A lot of people compare crypto to AI, but you did not see the government putting up this kind of money for crypto projects. You didn't see this much money to go to the moon. Even the Manhattan Project would only be about $25 billion in today's money. NASA's Apollo program would have been about $250 billion in today's money. So that's a pretty good number. Yo, check out that thing. I kid you not, it's so you can play the piano like Mozart, but even faster. And artificial intelligent video has now combined various animals with various geometric shapes. I would say hexagon raccoon was my favorite, but everybody gets to choose their own. So it turns out the less that somebody knows about artificial intelligence, the more inclined they are to welcome it into their life. It's a new study that shows how Americans view the morality of different jobs. Just by putting that device in your ear, you can now travel the world seamlessly. So the idea of editing the DNA in embryos is back on the table. A new simulation touts the benefits of gene editing. Very controversial. Same company that invented the transformer that OpenAI built ChatGPT on has now reinvented Titan. The Infographic Show YouTube channel says there's kind of a new mission to locate alien technology within our solar system. It was pretty fun to listen to. We're going to dive into whether or not the universe is actually a fractal. Big, small, medium, like who cares? If it's all self-similar, it's the same thing. As long as we're comparing big things to small things, I wanted to cover this article. Bacteria and virus transmission is similar to interplanetary travel. And as we are on the eve of AGI and we wonder, can AI ever rise beyond mere cleverness? We're going to cover Aristotle and the limits of AI. But first, we do have an update to Alan's conservative countdown to AGI. Still at 88%, but there was an update. Honestly, I'm not surprised. We covered the Stargate project. When you put $500 billion into something, feels like maybe the meter should be addressed a little bit. I think it's time to go to 89%. Or maybe we jump to 88 a little bit quick, and we should be now hitting 88. But I won't split the small stuff. But even with government waste, $500 billion, it's probably going to get you some progress. If you want to support me and help continue giving updates like this with a very rapid changing world, futurism, artificial intelligence, robotics, support me, patreon.com/DylanCurious, or go ahead and hit that join button right here on YouTube. You can become a member of the channel. That's what keeps this thing running. Look, we got 88 members right now, making $170 a month. Let's see if we can get that to 200. All right, so what do you think is going on with Elon here? I mean, he must be pretty happy, right? $500 billion. He's like pretty tight with the president, has a lot of control over like literally the money supply of the government and the largest single, like wealthiest person on earth. So you think he would smile a little bit. I mean, he's loose, like his head's real loose there. You know what I mean? Eyes going up, neck is kind of noodly there. And yeah, I guess maybe that's what it feels like to be happy, but to be like happy in a way that I probably just won't ever understand because I'll never be that rich and powerful. It's like a power happiness, maybe. He's downloading the next update, maybe. Recalibrating, defragging his brain, all pretty good answers. All right, but in a rare moment, standing right next to Elon Musk is his frenemy, Sam Altman, with President Trump to the side, addressing the nation. Man, that guy has really come up in the world.
Of this era, and as Masa said, for AGI to get built here, to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, to create a new industry centered here. We wouldn't be able to do this without you, Mr. President, and I'm thrilled that we get to. I think it'll be an exciting project. I think we'll be able to do all of the wonderful things that these guys talked about.
All right, there you go. Wonderful project. We'll be able to do all of the wonderful things these guys talked about. Dude, get ready to slap these bad boys on your finger. They can be pre-programmed or they can use artificial intelligence to figure out where your hand is and then boom, smash your finger down at a rate much faster than the human brain can do. So coming out of Sony, and it's not to play the PlayStation because they partnered with Neuropiano Institute and created a robotic hand exoskeleton to help pianists play faster. The device fits over the hand, moves the fingers in specific patterns, and they tested it on 118 trained pianists who had hit a skill plateau. After using the exoskeleton for a while, these pianists showed noticeable improvements in speed and dexterity, even in the hand that wasn't trained. Turns out the training spurred changes in their brain's motor cortex, making it a pretty fascinating blend of robotics and neuroscience. I don't know. Is this the world we're building? You want to be, I mean, like, just imagine this. You put yourself in an exoskeleton, legs, arms, elbows. You go out there, it plays tennis for you, like at a pro level, Andre Agassi style. You take the exoskeleton off and your body, like, knows what to do. Tell me that thing's not going to break someone's finger. I mean, the world doesn't need it, but I also kind of want to try it on. I feel so weird about the world nowadays. These are some very popular animals combined with very popular geometric shapes. Crow, cow in a sphere. A kangaroo in a cylinder. I can see it. A hexagon and a raccoon. Oh my. Yeah, interesting. Rhinoceros in a cube. They're already boxy. Oh, not like that's true boxy. All right, here is a cat in a cube. Ooh, interesting. Sphere and a penguin. Ooh, yeah, actually that one just looks perfect. That one just seems like it'd be like something Pixar made. Tiger in a hexagon. We'll see if that's maybe better than the raccoon. Yeah, maybe. Oh, I don't think sheeps belong. Oh, no. That's got some weird llama looking. No. All right, so Tech Explorer is exploring the idea about how when people don't know that much about artificial intelligence, they're just much warmer to it. New research is showing that they're more open to having it in their lives. Now, I was trying to take some guesses before reading this article, like, why is it that people that don't know much about AI are more likely to embrace it? My guess would be that they just think about how safe technology has been in the past. They understand some privacy risks, but they don't really think, oh, this is something that could be smart enough to manipulate me. And even though the researchers couldn't dive that deep into the study, there's definitely a pattern here. The less you know, the more you trust. Researchers call this the, quote, lower literacy, higher receptivity link. And the reason they came up with is that folks with limited AI knowledge often see it as something magical, like it's doing things only humans could do, such as creating art or offering emotional support. But on the flip side, those who are more well-versed in the technical side see it less as magic and more as just algorithms doing their thing. And that can dampen the excitement, and they can imagine how those algorithms can be used for nefarious reasons. And there's a catch. So while the less AI literate people may find it fascinating, they also tend to view it as less capable, less ethical, and a bit more scary. I've definitely been more scared the more I know, but that's just me. No, actually, I didn't get scared. And then Eliezer Yudkowsky, like, I watched a bunch of his stuff. Then I got scared. Then I thought about the risks more. And then I got comfortable with the risks. And now I think the risks are like moving exponentially and I'm getting nervous again. Anyways, the article says the challenge is boosting AI literacy without losing that sense of wonder. I will say no technologies have really felt like magic the same way AI has for a while. I mean, I guess Wi-Fi is like pretty magical. Like, where's the internet come from? You know, like what's going on here? I mean, social networks don't really feel like magic to me. Self-driving cars, though, autopilot in my Tesla feels kind of like magic. Diffusion models that create images, and Sora, like video and stuff now, Kling, Veo, that feels like magic still. Like those animals that were shapes, that's crazy. Actually, I'd be kind of curious in the comments, maybe you could throw in whatever you feel like those magic moments were. Like, was it playing with ChatGPT? Was it a certain question you asked? Or like, do you have some other thing where technology just like blew your mind? All right, let's look at the morality of different professions. There are some places where people still have a lot of trust. All right, so let's break it down for you. The most trusted, nurses. Grade school teachers, glad they're trusted. Military officers, that's good to hear. Pharmacists, medical doctors, daycare providers. Oh, people like really trust the funeral directors, huh? I don't know. Like when I'm not saying I distrust a funeral director, but they just don't strike me as like, well, I mean, they're I don't know, they're consoling you and stuff. I don't know. Police officers, auto mechanics. Wow, that's crazy. Above judges? Oh, America, we trust auto mechanics more than judges, huh? Bankers have a decent amount of trust too. I kind of thought that one would be lower. All right, let's go down here to the bottom part where you get a lot of very low trust and not much very high trust. Lobbyists, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Like that job is literally defined as like bribes. Members of Congress, yeah, I mean, the whole system's fallen apart so much. Sometimes, I mean, they are civil service. I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe they work a little bit for us, but it's a weird job. Like the jobs just need, the whole thing needs to be like thrown out and rebuilt. TV reporters, that's interesting. Advertisers, that one should be pretty low. Car salespeople, yeah. I mean, they're not usually looking out for your best interest. Business executives, newspaper reporters are a little more trusted than TV reporters. That's interesting. There you go. My friend's dad is a lobbyist. Nice guy. Doubt it, bruh. Bankers are far more ethical than teachers, huh? Dang, if only we paid teachers as much as we respect them. Yeah, that's how it should be. Though this should be how people get paid. And you know if this chart was paid, then lobbyists would be so much higher on this. Bankers at the top. Nurses would be getting not paid nearly enough. All right, check out that new gadget you can stick in your ear. Kind of looks like just an AirPod, but it's actually Meta's new AI that can translate speech in real time across more than 100 languages. So the AI model that's inside this little device is called the Seamless M4T, and it's made a big leap forward recently in creating a universal translator for delivering real-time speech-to-speech translations. Okay, now Google Translate's been around for a little while, but this is happening in real time. There's 101 languages that it understands. You, in theory, can just walk right up to somebody, talk, pause for a second just to hear that duplication. Like they say what they're going to say, and then it's translated right into your ear. Then you can talk back to them. So a bit of a delay, but going anywhere in the world, pretty much 101 languages you can communicate in. That's really neat. Like think of how that could change the way that we travel the planet. Think of all the knowledge and people you could meet if you could just, like hit up Tanzania. Then you're off to Japan, maybe even translate some of those really, really thick Australian accents. So the main breakthrough is that unlike older models that were actually translating into text first, and then text was going into audio, this is literally going audio to audio. That makes it much faster. It's got 23% higher accuracy than the leading systems. The dataset is full of underrepresented languages. And it's got a built-in system for minimizing gender bias and harmful language. So yeah, maybe in America, you're not calling Grimlock the right gender. It's very offensive as an object. Actually, I don't know if you saw, I have a video from like maybe 2 months ago where there was a system that was meant for call center reps. And if somebody was just like screaming and like using the F word, talking crap about them, on the other side, the person would hear like a very calm voice and it would sort of summarize that and be like, I'm having problems with my order. Can you help me? Even though they'd be like, you're idiots. But it would like cut out all of that. It was actually like, it just like helped bring down the stress, when people are just going off. All right, so certainly a problem that I come across as a content creator, making vertical form clips out of my like landscape video, and sometimes like going to Instagram and it's like 5x4, and then I'm like, how do I deal with this? Retargeting and predicting dimensions for seamless display across different devices. To me, this is the kind of like AI stuff Apple should be doing. Like they're always the best at making things just simple and make sense. Nothing crazy, but so useful. All right, so this is an AI model. It used advanced transfer learning models like ResNet 18 and DenseNet 121 to predict the best resizing techniques for a specific resolution based on whatever the image is. So it incorporated a data set over 46,000 images, and their model achieved a high F1 score, 90%, showcasing its effectiveness. Stretching, pulling, resizing, keeping the right part of the content in the center. This innovation addresses the limitations of current manual techniques and aims for a fully automatic system that can minimize information loss and distortion. And it doesn't just promise convenience, it actually hints at a future where image retargeting could become seamless and invisible to users. I would love that. Imagine just watching a show and you just tilt it and it like does the best it can to keep the action there. You tilt it again and it gives it like a different kind of perspective, but it still makes sense for the form factor. And then you maybe you pinch it and you throw it onto your iPad. Well, maybe that's the future that current babies are going to grow up in. But they also might be, I don't know, hyper intelligent, 7 foot tall, like more muscly than like bodybuilders. I don't know. All right, now let's talk about CRISPR babies 2.0. Controversial stimulation touts benefits of gene editing embryos. Scientists are grappling with the implications of a CRISPR baby world. There is a lot to think about here. Germline editing is banned in most countries. I remember I read Walter Isaacson's book on Jennifer Doudna, and it was sort of, I mean, it was really a really good book. And one of the kind of anecdotes from the story was this scientist in China who is now a disgraced scientist because he started editing human embryos. Now, in theory, his intentions weren't terrible. It was like, I think, some families that had AIDS, and he was able to like genetically engineer the baby so that it wouldn't have that. So you think it'd be okay, but just the fact that you open up a can of worms, you do it without the right proper oversight. The world is not ready to execute on this kind of technology. And he went to jail for 3 years. He is now free again. And the CRISPRed twins in the genes that he edited, they actually grew up normal, healthy. They're healthy toddlers now. Well, actually, I shouldn't say they are grown-up toddlers, but he did decline to answer more detailed questions about their well-being. So actually, there could be more to that. He also seemed like he did a bad thing by doing this, not just because of what he himself was doing. It also set the industry back. It made just people like way less trusting of it. It made it harder for people to show the benefits and like build the right kind of systems around it. But it is time to maybe start thinking about how, if used properly with solid scientific and clinical foundations, these kind of edits could reduce the chances of inherited diseases down an entire family line. Like, there are some people that this really could make a difference in. Okay, so just to give you a quick reminder, germline editing is messing with the reproductive cells or embryos. And the reason it's banned is because it's one of those kind of things that you can't put back in the bottle. These edits aren't just for one person. They will be passed down to future generations. So in some cases, it seems clear where the benefit is, but it's really hard to draw the line. The article asks questions about, do we stop at preventing deadly diseases, or does it spiral into creating designer babies? So a new study has explored this by simulating what happens when we add protective genes to embryos. And the results are that a few edits could drastically reduce disease risks in some cases, at least on paper and in simulation. But that simulation it's not like simulating what a robot might do and then putting it in a robot body, because there is so much more going on in cells and the technology is less precise and there's a lot more variables to consider. CRISPR is still not foolproof. It does seem to work really well, but it can hit the wrong spots in DNA. We're far from understanding how the thousands of genes interact in complex diseases like diabetes or Alzheimer's. And any of these missteps along the way could ripple generation after generation. So they have like really compounding long-term effects. So these kind of simulations are helpful. Scientists are arguing that we're about 30 years away from large-scale germline editing. So that makes me think babies born today that start having children in their 30s will actually be completely able to design the germline of their children. Like, is that even human? Is that going to be humans anymore? We haven't had intelligent design in the gene process. All right, move aside, transformer model that did transform the entire world. There is now Titan. Google is back with a big invention, learning to memorize at test time. Let's talk about Titans. Coming out of Google research. Okay, so here is the crux of the argument. There is a new paper, and what they've done to improve upon the transformer is they now have a way to use that technology plus the ability to teach a neural network to memorize data during test time using a new memory module. So this is like giving a machine a better long-term memory. It is inspired by how the human brain juggles short and long-term memories in different ways. They presented this new architecture. It is called Titans, and it combines both short-term, which means it's attention-based. That's what we're really used to. The Transformer has an attention-based system. And then this new long-term memory complex for better scalability and performance. And because of that long-term memory, you get a couple things. One, you get it a much better context window, meaning it can dump in like books on books on books, or when it comes to like visuals, you can get lots closer to like a full movie. In fact, when it comes to just text, it can actually remember 2 million tokens. That's that whole bookshelf plus a lot more. Imagine reading all of that and having it in your short-term memory. But there's a lot of speculation that this really might revolutionize things, especially because transformers like this with really long memories can be used for a new range of tasks, like modeling time series and forecasting. We're talking about like weather and stock market stuff. And the architecture seems like it's really efficient. They made the training process super efficient so it fits into the current models or the current workflows. And the idea of building forgetting into these mechanisms helps it focus on what they call surprise, meaning it can be surprised. Like it just feels very much like humans with our attention. We're bored. Whoa, what's that? Oh my gosh, I'm surprised. Brain kicks in, memories kick in, your state of mind changes. That feels a lot like what Titans does. They say it's like teaching a machine to remember what's important, ignoring the noise, which could pave the way for breakthroughs in handling real-world messy data. And it's more than just tech. It feels like a glimpse into how machines might evolve their own thought process. Google does it again. All right. I like the infographic show. Like I watch this channel, not always. I would say like 3 out of 4 videos I really don't like. And then once in a while, I'm like, ooh, that was a good one. This is a good one. Scientists reveal new mission to locate alien technology within our solar system. It's a great infographic video that breaks down how a guy who works at NASA, his name's Dr. Ravel. And this infographic does a really great job breaking down how NASA is seriously exploring whether alien technology might be hanging out in our solar system. I think this is pretty cool. Like we're always looking at stars, we're measuring like redshift and quasars and black holes. And I feel like we should, knowing very little about astronomy, have a lot of understanding of what's natural, and maybe we could build special systems or look for things that truly feel unnatural, and that might give us a clue into if there are any alien civilizations out there. Sounds like NASA's thinking the same way. It is literally a needle in the haystack that they're looking for, but scientists are focusing on logical spots like the moon, Mars, and even asteroid belts or other points in the universe where alien probes might be lurking. So tools like AI and citizen scientists are helping sift through millions of images from projects like the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter and the Mars CTX Mosaic. And while a lot of the skeptics, they still dismiss alien technology as tinfoil hat territory, the mind-boggling age and scale of the universe makes it statistically plausible that some alien civilizations could have beaten us to the punch by billions of years. Yeah, that's like the Fermi paradox. Like we should not be the first one if it happens a lot. The odds of us being the first one, statistically impossible. I mean, technically possible, but highly, highly, highly improbable. So the question is, do we just not see probes out there, or do we just not know how to recognize alien probes? So new technology needs to be looked at, and I think that's a good use of NASA's budget. All right, you guys ready to talk about whether or not the universe is a fractal? Ethan Siegel, thank you for writing this. Is the universe actually a fractal? On larger and larger scales, many of the same structures we see at the small ones repeat themselves. See it in forests. The idea that if you zoom far enough in, you'll eventually encounter a structure that repeats the initial pattern that you saw at larger scales is mathematically realized in the concept of a fractal. All right, so let's think about the universe. At first, it kind of seems fractal if you think about galaxies, dark matter, halos, and cosmic structures. They do kind of seem self-similar, especially when you're like zooming into these like galactic clusters. But some researchers have looked into just how fractal it is, and it turns out the universe is only kind of fractal-like. When we zoom in and zoom out across the cosmic scales, the story gets a bit complicated. The rules of gravity and dark matter interaction and the effects of normal matter and radiation create some self-similar patterns over and over again. Those are the fractal part. But they eventually fizzle out, and the largest scales, limited by dark energy, and the smallest, disrupted by complex interactions, make truly fractal universes elusive and not real. But there is a lot of fractal-like stuff in the middle, so it was worth researching. And it's cool that at those scales, we get sort of a cosmic web to look at. But at the end of the day, it's like the universe is just teasing us with fractals. Just won't commit. Actually, one of the things I liked about the Impossible C and Matt Strassler's book was how he didn't work too hard to like make sure that like symmetry and beauty is in the universe. He was like pretty accepting of like the standard model is kind of weird and unbalanced, but it is what it is. I feel like I'm trying to get more of that mindset when it comes to cosmology. Like, okay, like some stuff's just asymmetrical and like it doesn't all have to be fractal in nature, even though that would be beautiful. And sometimes following that kind of beauty has been really powerful in the past. You know, facts are facts. The alternative view published on Medium, an article called Bacteria and Virus Transmission is Similar to Interplanetary Travel, especially when you sneeze or cough. You got to do some imagining here, but if you imagine somebody who sneezes or coughs, or yourself doing that, he argues like you should think about it like interplanetary travel. Like basically there's planet me and then there's planet whoever, if I sneeze, like the virus goes to. And he's imagining how the viruses and bacteria are like these little tiny astronauts. And when you sneeze, they like hitch a ride on the snot or whatever, or just like float in the air. And they like, a lot of them like don't make it, but some of them go to like the new planet, which is like another person. There's even more comparisons for why they're like planetary travelers. These microbes are like ingenious survivalists. They're using their human hosts as launch pads, just like Elon Musk's dream of going to Mars with the rocket Falcon Heavy X or whatever. Think about it, the Elon Musk of viruses, just like trying to get out there. And just like how early explorers harnessed tools and strategies to conquer new worlds, bacteria and virus have mastered survival and transmission from human to human. We often think of humans as the dominant species, but in this microbial world, we're just the hosts for their endless ingenuity. See, that almost seems fractal-like in a weird way too. I mean, not fractal is kind of like a more like geometric thing. But it does kind of feel like we're not so different from viruses that are like surviving and replicating, and they're using us, and like we're eating animals to get energy, and then like lots of humans come together into like bigger networks that also compete. And at the end of the day, like viruses and bacteria, they're just trying to survive. They're evolving, they're adapting to exploit new environments, much like humanity. Sometimes it's humbling to think about how interconnected we are with these tiny viruses. Dude, one time, like one of the other videos, I looked up how many viruses are like likely in the room that I'm in right now, just considering this like an average clean room, probably 1 trillion. Government just gave $500 billion to AI, and there's 1 trillion viruses in this room with me. All right, now let's talk about Aristotle and the limits of AI. Can AI ever rise beyond mere cleverness? All right, so this article is interesting because Aristotle actually had this idea of what it means to be a fully developed human being. So we can take that philosophy and we can ask, how close is artificial intelligence to fulfilling those? All right, so let's start with Aristotle. His concept of intelligence encompasses 3 elements. First one is about crafting and making things. The second is about wisdom or a theoretical understanding. And the third is about practical wisdom. Now, artificial intelligence has made significant progress in certain areas, such as mastering the craft or the making through generating like poetry or text through ChatGPT, or generating images through diffusion models, but seems to still be falling short in practical wisdom due to its lack of moral reasoning and goal autonomy. So he highlights that the moral and technical barriers to developing an AI capable of true understanding with all 3 of these elements would be a truly autonomous AI, and it would challenge our assumptions about control, ethics, and the nature of intelligence itself. To me, this is one of the better ways to think about AGI. Maybe instead of like the test scores, or especially the definition that's like, it's $100 billion in profit, we'll call that AGI. I will say that one thing that kind of stood out to me in the article is that Aristotle probably would have looked at today's artificial intelligence landscape and said, you don't want to make a machine that's overly constrained, but you also don't want it to be too independent. Like it can be dangerously independent, but you want to balance that. And focusing on balance is what we should all be having a conversation around. That might be the best way to define good AI. All right, my videos were, they're up a bit. My last video 2 days ago, Claude pre-trained to comply during training. Oh my God, that was such a fascinating thing to read. Did a full 6,300 views, so thank you guys for all the comments. Bees there stealing our gerbs. There was like a robotic bee in this video, if you're wondering. Checking out the analytics, on my low end of average, but still, that's pretty awesome, man. I remember like getting 6,000 views a video was just so exciting, and I will still feel that way for quite a bit longer. 6.1% click-through rate, not too bad. Engagement was about the same as usual. Oh, actually looks like that retention rate is pretty high. You guys, a lot of you stayed until the until, wow, almost to the end. Yeah, almost 20% to the end. Pretty good. Dang, 53 new subscribers. Oh, you know, by the way, thanks guys for hitting 20,000 views this week. That's a milestone for me. And I mean, it's been hard. Like I put a lot of time into it, but I've had so much fun and I'm going to continue making these videos. This is like the ideal lifestyle for me. So thank you for all the support. And 20,000, let's just keep on going, man. Maybe we'll get to 50 one day, maybe even 100. I don't know. One can dream. Let's go make a song out of your comments. Yeah, all right. I like that one. Yeah, some people might have suffered from CES fatigue. That's probably why that video didn't do too well. Or one of the reasons it could be. I don't feel sorry for the Brad Pitt lady nearly as much as I feel bad for her husband who she cheated on, divorced, and took $850,000 from him. Imagine your wife leaving you for a deep fake. Ugh, okay, that's gonna be a good song. What genre of music is most associated with feeling sad or relationship woes? Oh, emo, rock alternative, indie folk. All right, we'll do indie folk. All right, I hope you're in a somber place right now.
Replacing bees with robots, think about it. People will need a subscription service to pollination. I enjoyed your SES video. There were so many SES coverage YT videos hitting in such a short space of time. I think some people may have suffered SES fatigue. I don't feel sorry for the Brad Pitt lady nearly as much as I feel bad for her husband who she cheated on, divorced and took 80 to 50,000 ends. From imagine your wife leaving you for a deep.
That's a tough thing to imagine. It's beautiful in its own way. Terrible tragedy. Actually, it like kind of legit is, but still. All right, there's your AI song. Hopefully it'll be a better tomorrow. See you in the next video. Hit subscribe. Join my Patreon.